Difference in the world with healthspiration, which she says is health and inspiration. Spreading positivity, enjoying a randomly spontaneous moment, and sharing her contagious laughter. Please join me in welcoming to the stage, Rebecca Duxler!
Hi everyone, how are you guys on this oh so lovely Wednesday night? So hopefully the Cubs are going to win, right? Guess not. And it's Back to the Future Day too, so happy Back to the Future Day! So right now I'm going to tell you lovely people the story of how I woken up from being, or awakened from being not finding myself. So this is the Nerd's Awakening. Yeah! So one day, when I was sitting at home in the oh-so-lovely Chicago suburbs of Buffalo Grove, I was getting ready to go hang out with my friends, and of course, I have a very eclectic style of dress, so obviously some people don't agree with it. So I got dressed, and by the time I was ready, I was wearing a 5-finger Death Punch shirt, blue cherry shorts, pink leggings, pink Converse shoes, an armful of bling, an earful of metal. And then by the time I reached downstairs and my parents saw me, they were like, hey, so are you really going to go outside and wear this in public today? And I was like, well, of course, this is what my heart told me to put on. And so I ended up just proceeding my way out the door, secretly shaking my fist at my parents, and slamming the door, and not turning back, and wondering what the heck I did to make myself become the black sheep of the family. But, you know, of course with being a black sheep means you get picked on a lot. And I'm an identical twin, and I have a twin sister, and we're both the same age. I'm a minute younger. And of course we both end up growing up and doing the same hobbies. We both played soccer, we both did band, track and field, fencing, you name it. So we did everything the same, and we had no time to establish our own identities. So here's little old me searching to figure out who I am and what I want to do. Meanwhile, while having no identity because I'm doing the same things as my sister. And then unfortunately, since I want to end up going on a lot of adventures, it's a little bit too expensive to go to an out-of-state school. So what happens when it's time for college? We both end up going to the same school. We both end up studying the same thing. But we both really liked web development because we both ended up finding the inspiration from that from one of our friends named Kyle, who we became friends with as a child. So when we go to ISU and do the same activities, I'm a freshman, and when we first start school, we both do marching band together, but she played trumpet and I played clarinet. So hey, we're in different sections, yay. But, yay, we're so far away from each other. But we don't live in the same dorm either, yay, we're across the street from each other. And in some of the same classes. And then it's like, okay, so even though marching band isn't going very well, and I'm not really clicking with the clarinet section, and it's starting to go downhill, it's like, okay, how am I going to find a home since I don't really feel like I'm at home when I'm in Buffalo Grove with my parents and my extended family? So, okay. And since I've grown up with my friend Kyle Eagle, who is a guy, and 90% of my friend body or more are all dudes. So what do I want to do to meet some female folk friends? Go Greek. Because sorority is that whole experience where it's like, okay, you meet your family, you meet your sisters for life, yada, 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 everything's going to be A-okay, right? For a little bit, but of course I end up joining that unusual sorority that doesn't have a house and has a low membership count, which it was pretty awesome because you're the sorority that was meant to be different, and you're the ones who were the underdogs fighting for a purpose. And I thought it was going to be really awesome, and it started going really, really, really well at the beginning. And then after all of my friends graduated, and basically they started recruiting a new demographic of people, I ended up not really getting along with them, and basically ended up getting bullied out. But the real kicker of that was my favorite part of all, formal recruitment. When you talk to all these P&Ms and you want to get people into your sorority. But of course, what type of person do you want in your sorority? you want to go up to the person while you're all dolled up, and since we didn't have a house, we used the student center and the service room, which is basically a giant room with a stage in the back, kind of like this, but in the student center. And we had tables set up, everything was all purple and white and pretty and fancied up. We were all dolled up in our evening finest while wearing our sorority letters, wearing our pretty colors, trying to distinguish ourselves. And even though we didn't have a house and that was kind of a deal breaker, we still wanted to talk to the P&Ms because, of course, who doesn't want to be authentic when you're talking to P&Ms, even though you're recruiting for the sorority, but you want them to match your values, and when you join the sorority, you want your values to match the values of the sorority. So then, of course, since I'm a giant nerd in web development and all the typical things you wouldn't find a sorority girl in, I basically ended up turning into the water boy. And by that, I mean the person who ends up having to help with the volunteers and the alumni and the non-current sorority members serve finger sandwiches to all the other members. Hey, want a sandwich? Well, everybody's talking for me. I just want to talk to you now. I can't really have a conversation with you, and I'm trying to serve you a finger sandwich. So then, by the time I ended up graduating, graduating as an alumni because I did have a passion for the sorority. I loved leadership, I loved volunteering, I loved making a difference. So of course I wanted to give my all into the sorority, and I left my semester before I graduated. But I still kind of hung out with them every now and again. And then, a little bit after I graduated, it was one of my closest friends' birthdays. But of course, it ended up being a bad time because it was the same time as this thing. It was an event for this group called the Belgarth Medieval Combat Society. So how did I get into this Belgarth Medieval Combat Society? Or you probably don't all know what that is, so it's whatever nerd club thing. So basically, one of my friends in the IT department my senior year, I met him through doing the mobile development contest at school, and basically I ended up having a really good conversation with him, talking to him for a while. We ended up becoming really close, and then Kyle, who was my biggest inspiration at everything, ended up passing away, unfortunately, right after I graduated. So here's poor old me in a hole over there, trying to want to make some friends because, of course, unfortunately, I ended up choosing Belgarth over the sorority, so I ended up feeling like I had no friends. So about 2 months after I graduated, and maybe about a month and a half after my friend passed away, he's like, hey, do you want to go to the nerd club, aka Belgarth? And I'm like, well, I saw you guys at school, and every time I would see you guys in the college business building, I would end up just being like, hi, you guys are kind of weird, I'm going to go to class now. And and then I was like, okay, well, I haven't actually given you a chance, so why not? So then he ends up offering me a ride because my car is parked in the burbs, and going to Elgin, which is where the practice was super inconvenient. So he offered to give me a ride, so I'm like, okay. So I show up in my workout clothes, having no idea what to expect, and I thankfully didn't have to go alone because that would have been way too scary. And it's like, okay. So I show up and I see all these people outside in a giant golf course, dressed in medieval garb with these foam weapons and shields and spears and javelins and arrows and just a whole mess going on. It's like, okay, what do I do? So then I walk up to this guy named Big Jimmy, and he's in charge of the practice. And I'm like, okay, so how do I play? So him and a few veterans hand me a sword and a shield. So you're like, welcome to the Belgarth Medieval Combat Society. You have a sword and a shield or 2 weapons in both hands. If you hit 2 limbs or hit the torso, you're dead. If you hit the head, it doesn't count unless you get hit with a rock. And yes, rock doesn't mean actual rock. It means basically something knitted or foam or something pillow-like. And if you hit it in the face, you die. Or with an arrow or some kind of projectile item. And basically, so it's like, here, you're going to go immerse yourself into this world now. Have fun. Swing, 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 swing. Yeah, I did something. And then by the time all that's over, basically it's like people ended up talking to me, and I ended up feeling like I finally made some friends. So it's like, okay, this is actually real now. I feel like a little 5-year-old kid who made their first friend in kindergarten, who's running up to the mirror screaming, yay, I actually made a friend! Yay! And then basically after that, I was completely hooked. And then basically, kind of the meets for this are called events. And an event is basically, there's a day event and an overnight event. Overnight event is where you camp for several days in a row. And a day event is where you just fight during the day and eat at night and chill and be merry. And then basically, I ended up, the day of a day event ended up being the same day as one of my sorority sisters' birthday. I'd never done this Belgarth thing my whole life. I was so excited. I ended up going to the Belgarth event and mind blown. Best thing ever. And then about a year later, after I started getting super involved and going to camping events, I ended up meeting this guy named Danny, who, happy birthday, Danny, you did a lot for me, thank you. It is his birthday today, so happy birthday. And basically, so he ended up helping me recover from a lot of mental health gobbledygook. He helped me lose 60 pounds, he helped me turn my life around, he helped me be able to move out successfully, and then he introduced me to his other friend named Danny, who I later ended up becoming super close with him, and then he's like, hey, here's all of my friends from Iowa, because he's from the Quad Cities. So he's like, here are all my friends. Come meet all of them. And I'm like, this sounds pretty cool. I think I'll camp with you guys for one of these things. So then I end up going into their camp, which is basically right next to this beautiful view with the water. There's like a dock area over on the other side of the camp, and our area is just grass and water, a pretty view, and lots of camping and fighting and camaraderie and drinks in skull glasses and staying out till 6 in the morning, having a fun time being merry and talking to each other in the campsite. And it's like, you know, I actually feel like a part of something. This feels pretty nice because you guys actually welcome me and you make me feel like I'm one of you guys. So now I'm going to go celebrate Thanksgiving with you guys. Thanks, you lovely people. So in the end, all it took was just a bunch of perseverance and continuing to try to put myself out there. No matter how many times I got stomped down, no matter how many times I got bullied, whatever, I still ended up continuing to try putting myself out there. Because, you know, even though a lot of people struggle with being different and finding themselves, it's that nerd is the new cool. And about being the black sheep, what did I do to be the black sheep? Nothing. I just wanted to be myself and stomp out all those people who were against me. So, you know, I love being a nerd. Do you? Thank you very much.